Helen Ballard,
And where are you from? What's your hometown?
Washington, D.C.
Wonderful. Could you share with me your favorite scripture that you have held on to through your most trying times?
Well, I can't really say that it was my absolute favorite until fairly recently, and that would be Zechariah 4:10. And the reason being is because I had a friend of mine who gave it to me. I was going through a lot of changes, and I just felt like I really didn't have the answers to it. I didn't really know whether or not what I was doing was what I should be doing. And in this Zechariah, it says that God really looks at the outcome of what it is that you're doing. So even though you feel as though that you don't get the personal feeling of gratification from it, you get the spiritual feeling of gratification because he said it in his word. And so you live by it and you says, okay, now I get this. So many times you don't always get it, but I got that. So it made it feel a lot easier, as if to say, I am doing what I'm supposed to do in his eyes. So that's why that's my favorite.
It's definitely a good one. I'll definitely write that one down and go back and refer to it over and over.
Yeah.
So share your story, your testimony. What brought you here?
My testimony is a really strange type of testimony. Not just being a cancer survivor, but I'm a survivor of cerebral hemorrhage and 3 strokes, where I have residuals, neurological residuals, and I have a blood clotting disorder that will be with me for life. And through all of that, I was in my early 20s when I was diagnosed with the cerebral hemorrhage. I was in the hospital for 6 months at Johns Hopkins. And that was really hard because I was so young and didn't really understand what I was going through. So I managed to come through that without any of the effects of a person who had strokes. And you could look at me and never think, oh my gosh, she had a stroke. No, she didn't. Yeah, I did. And then in 2008, I was diagnosed. It was an accidental find. I have a metal port that is in my arm, and the arm started to swell up, started giving me a lot of problems. They admitted me into the hospital. You know, the whole thing where they don't really talk to you about what's going on with you medically, that new HIPAA thing. I'm in the hospital and I'm getting transfusions of antibiotics, and I didn't quite understand why were they taking me down for x-rays so much. And I kept thinking to myself, I just went for an x-ray about 2 hours ago. Why am I going back for another x-ray? Yet and still nobody's telling me what's going on. So I'm thinking that, okay, it must be something wrong with the Mediport. No, I was released from the hospital and I was given the name of a doctor that I needed to see. And this doctor was an oncologist. So I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to see him for? And when I got there, that's when he says, well, we detected that we saw some nodules and we need to do a biopsy. And I went to the other hospital, I had the biopsy, and it came back positive for cancer. So, you know, the irony to it is when you first hear those words, you're like, okay, all right, okay, I can deal with that. And I was driving home from the hospital, and I got halfway to my mother's house, and I stopped at my aunt's house, and reality hit. Yeah. So, in that, I had to make a decision. I wasn't thinking about God, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know what to think. I was like, how could I have survived the cerebral hemorrhage and the strokes, and now you turn around and you tell me I got cancer? So I had to have radiation. And it was extremely hard. And I had to have the radiation for 10 days. And they treated me as an outpatient. So my family couldn't be around me, so I was home alone, dealing with the effects of the radiation, the weakness, not being able to just get up off the floor, literally just laying on the floor because you're so weak you can't even get back into bed. And so I thought, okay, when this is over, I'm gonna be good to go. 6 months later, I went back, they found more cancer. So in this final episode of me dealing with the cancer a second time, it was also treated with radiation. And at the end of this radiation is when I started to have the serious residuals. They had given me such a hard dose of the radiation, it started affecting other parts of my body. My saliva glands were completely burned out, so for me to just eat my favorite snack food, which is chips, I can't do that because I can't break the food down. So it gets to be like a ball in your mouth, and your mouth is dry and you can't swallow it. And you constantly are drinking, so you constantly are always thirsty. You're always having to find something to put moisture into your mouth. And then after that, I just started having all kinds of weird things, my hair falling out. I used to have shoulder length hair. This final time when the hair started falling out, I just said cut it short. Mentally, I felt like I was given this all for a reason, for a purpose, that I had to do something. I really didn't know what I needed to do and how I should go about achieving that. I dedicated my whole life to education and getting my degrees. And then when this came along, it was like everything came to a halt. So right now I'm waiting. It's been 2 years since I've been able to go back to school to finish my doctorate. I'm in that phase of what they call all but dissertation, where you completed all your coursework, all you have to do is the research. And that's where I am. But for some reason, it doesn't seem like I'm able to finish it because I've been pulled to do something else. So then I started to question myself. But the biggest thing that helps when you're going through being diagnosed with cancer, whether it's radiation or chemotherapy, mentally you have to make sure that you stay positive. Because without that, you will crumble. You'll have your moments where you're feeling like, I can't do this, why me? You'll get into all of that negativity. That's not a good thing when you're a cancer patient. You have to stay positive. So for me, my message to anybody going through what I've experienced or have not experienced what I've experienced and just curious to know, you have to have your faith. And that's the only thing that's going to pull you through. That's my story. And I'm sticking to it.
That was really, really well said. I kind of went with you through the motions.
Okay.
And that's, for an interviewer, we're not supposed to. But sometimes when people's stories are so compelling, you feel their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to thank you for being that vulnerable, especially in a setting like this where you're kind of afraid to let us get in.
Right.
So I really want to thank you for that.
No problem.
So in 25 words or less, and just sum it up, what is something that you are called to do? Do you have like a nonprofit that you were really, really active in? Is there a forum that you participated in? Is there a book that you've really gone to for solace? Is there like a meeting of women or other cancer patients that you are really close to?
No, actually today is actually the first time that I've been in a huge setting where all of us have the shared victory, I should say. And in that, it's kind of emotional because I'm seeing us all function. I'm seeing us all being in an environment where we're being positive to one another, which is just totally awesome. My biggest thing is that right now I currently work with a nonprofit organization that is for academics, academic enrichment, as you will. And I do have a small business. It is a for-profit organization where I actually provide tutoring and GED, SAT prep for students in a K through 12 setting. So my calling for education has been like a big plus with me, and it's the one thing that keeps me going. It's the drive that I need. I'm very, very passionate about it. I hate to see when students are not really doing well And I especially hate to see when there seems to be a clash between student, parent, and educationalist. That can be a quite difficult scenario. But it happens often, but it's just a matter of being able to take that leadership role and get in there and kind of calm the storm, if you will. It seems that I have a knack to be able to calm a storm. So that's really important, to get people to understand there's a brighter side to things. Let's look at a different version of it. Let's take away the frustration. Not meaning that you don't have a reason to feel frustrated, but let's just kind of remove that from the scenario. And let's build on something positive and see what we can do to work it out. Because if we think about it in biblical terms, Jesus had to come along to kind of figure things out too, because everything was kind of in turmoil. So I don't think that I'm saintly in that way. I just think that I have a knack for me being able to kind of make a negative into a positive.
How might your raw beauty experience bless or impact another survivor?
Oh my goodness, that's an awesome question. I think this whole experience is just going to let you know that it's okay, whatever battle that you're struggling with. This whole raw beauty experience is it just confirms that, you know what, I'm still okay. I came out of this thing and I'm able to function, and I can enjoy my favorite seafood, and I can go to the beach, and I can do everything, and my world hasn't ended. So this right here is like, yeah, this is totally awesome. I'm good. I made it. I survived. I'm on the top of the world.
So now, in a complete sentence, what is raw beauty? 2 words. Raw beauty is what to you?
Raw beauty is inspiration, encouragement. It provides you with the wisdom from the other survivors. Raw beauty is everything that makes you feel complete again. And that's what I enjoy about being a part of Raw Beauty. I'm complete.